Morning, homesteaders, gardeners, and cooks. My name is Jennifer. Welcome to Miles Away Farm. I am going out to my raised bed garden. It is the 2nd of July, and we're here for the garden tour. Can't believe that June is gone. That was a very fast month. We are here in the July garden. Picked my first zucchini of the season a couple of days ago. So the summer crops have officially really begun. I'm in Southeast Washington, Zone 7A. My last frost is about the 1st of May, and my first frost is usually about the 3rd week in October. So I have a pretty long growing season. I have 6 4x8 feet raised bed gardens here that I bought off of Amazon. And this is their 3rd year, and I just move things around every year in terms of where things are. This side gets some morning sun, and then the other side, we definitely get afternoon sun. So it's not 10 hours a day of sun, which is actually pretty nice because we get quite hot in the summertime. This first bed is peppers, eggplant, and a little bit of celery. And then I often tuck flowers in here and there. Here's how our eggplants are looking. We've got some nice height on them. This one's a little bit slower, but the other 3 are getting quite big. And you often need to stake eggplant, I find. They get heavy with fruit and kind of fall over. And so I've got a couple of stakes in here. I don't have any actual fruit just yet. We're getting there, but I have a lot of blossoms. Lovely little eggplant blossom there. And 3 of these are a Japanese style eggplant. So long, skinny, they're called Little Finger. And then this one is a Rosa Bianca, so it's more of a traditional Italian style eggplant. It will be bigger and fatter, but they're coming. And then the rest of this bed is peppers, mostly what I call bullhorn style peppers, which are longer and skinnier than a typical bell pepper, but these are sweet peppers. And most of these are a variety called Carmen. Carmen is a hybrid, but it is a absolutely fantastic eating pepper. And so I have grown it for the last 3 years, and I absolutely adore it. The other ones are something called Stocky Red Roaster, and that was a variety of pepper that was originally a hybrid, and then a breeder unhybridized it. And so these are going to be similar in shape. I don't know what they're going to taste like. Hopefully they're absolutely delicious. But these are a little bit behind. You can tell if you look at the peppers on this plant versus the peppers on that plant. These guys are not quite as fast, and so that's clearly one of the trade-offs of the hybrids. I have, that is a Hungarian black, which is a fairly mild dark pepper that is similar to a jalapeno. This is an actual jalapeno. And then these guys are pimentos. And these are the ones that the chickens dug up and that I had to replant, and they had almost no roots left. And surprisingly, they're surviving, and they're actually starting to get new leaves. So I think we're rallying. This is an extra pimento that I bought from a friend of mine because I wasn't sure if I was actually going to get any pimentos with these other 2 plants. But I am pleased to say I think they're rallying. And then in the corner here, this is my shishito. And I clearly have some nice shishito starting to form. I have another one of these out in my big garden. So I have a couple of these. If you've ever grown shishitos, they're really delicious. But if you put more than about 2 plants in, it's very easy to get overwhelmed very quickly. And then here we have celery. Celery is one of those plants that takes forever to germinate. Literally, like sometimes 2 weeks. It's in the parsley family. And then it kind of sits and doesn't really do much for quite a long time. And then when it finally gets happy, it takes off like gangbusters. And this plant has probably doubled in size just in the last week. So it's quite happy in there. You can see spilling out all over the place. This is borage, which is a weedy annual that the pollinators absolutely love. And it reseeds like crazy. And the flowers are edible. And so I just leave it in, and then I've literally been yanking it out by handfuls when it's in the wrong spot. And some of this needs to go. This aisleway here is getting to the point where I can't walk through here. But I'm also selling the flowers with a local food hub that I'm part of. And so I don't want to pull them all out. But yeah, it's getting a little crazy in there. They're a little bit prickly. This is sweet pea in this garlic bed. This bed is garlic and then also a nigella, which is a black cumin Indian spice. These are sweet peas that were planted along the edge here that I've been training to spill out into the aisle rather than growing into the garlic bed. And it's mostly worked. And they are just starting to bloom. This is literally yesterday. So I'm very pleased to finally be getting some sweet peas. I tried to grow sweet peas in my green stock last year, and it turns out they're day length sensitive, and I planted them really late. And I had incredible germination and lots of green growth and not a single blossom for months because it was past the date that they needed in order to actually bloom. But these are starting to come, and I'll hopefully have a small sweet pea bouquet that I can bring into the house, and that's going to be fun. So here's our garlic bed. And these will be ready. Let me come around where I'm not getting the sun in the lens. This will be ready to pull out in another 2 to 3 weeks. Typically, once you've picked your garlic scapes, you've got another 2 to 3 weeks before the garlic is ready. And you know your garlic is ready because at the bottom, your bottom couple sets of leaves should be brown. And so while this set of leaf is brown, these guys have not fully dried yet. So we're not quite there, but we do have some garlic coming. And interestingly, like I have a mix of hardneck and softneck in here. And for some reason, one of the hardnecks just never formed scapes. So I don't know what the heck that was about, if it was a mix-up in terms of variety, but that seems unlikely because it's really obvious when you're planting a hardneck because the bulb still has a hard core in the middle. So I don't know what's happening, but interesting. And then here, of course, is our gorgeous nigella. This is related to Love in a Mist if you haven't watched my other garden videos. And it is a plant that I've grown. This is my 3rd year growing this. And the last 2 years, the plants have been under a foot and not terribly happy, hard to germinate. And last year, I didn't even bother harvesting it because it had not done well and it was really puny. And so it turned out it reseeded all through this garlic bed. And this year, I'm going to get a huge harvest of this, which I'm quite excited about. And so evidently, the trick to this is to just let it winter sow. But here you can see what the seed pods look like. So we're starting to get some nice seed pods, and then there will be small little black seeds in here that I think they taste a lot like oregano, but they're used in Indian cooking. And so I sell spice mixes, and so I've wanted to be able to grow this for years, and I grow a lot of Love in a Mist, which is its cousin, and so I knew it should do well here, and I've just struggled. So I'm excited to have a good crop of that this year. That'll be fun. And then this one guy right here, that is the seed head of a elephant garlic. I have 1 row of elephant garlic in the middle here. I'm getting buzzed by a hummingbird out here. I have 1 row of elephant garlic, and I just wanted to see what the flower stalk looked like. Elephant garlic isn't actually a true garlic. It's actually closely related to leeks. And I thought it would be fun to just see what the flower looked like. And so I cut the others off, but I left one of those on, and that's been fun. So just because I'm standing here, I have to show you guys. These are my poppies this year. They're just starting to pop, and they're so gorgeous. So this one is called Danish Flag. For obvious reasons, it is red and white and just beautiful. Oh my gosh, I see I have another zucchini that needs to be picked. We are in zucchini season. Oh, and there's another one right there. So they are coming for sure. Costata romanesca, I believe, is the name. I'll put it on the screen of this zucchini. These plants are absolutely massive, and they will spill out into this aisle and kind of trail along here over time. And that was my plan. That's why they're in the corners. This one is going to trail across this whole bed. They're very, very big plants, but I love the zucchini. They're firmer. They're not as watery, and they seem to be somewhat resistant to squash bugs. I've had really good luck growing this variety and not ending up with the plants dying from squash bug issues. Sometimes I'll lose one, but a lot of times they'll make it to the end of the season. So it's great for that as well. They seem to have a little bit of resistance to it. So since we're here, this is obviously the zucchini bed. And then I have a couple of more celeries. These went in. We're having a chicken fiasco over there. I can hear them yelling. These went in later in the season. And so they're a little bit smaller, and I'm going to have to keep, you can see I've trimmed a couple of big leaves off of this. I'm going to have to just keep trimming these leaves back so that they don't completely overshadow this. In here, getting buried, there is a planter that has Johnny Jump Up and some salvia in it. But it's at this point, it's kind of getting buried and is almost done for the season. And then on this trellis, I have shelling peas. And I have a really good crop of peas this year for the first time in a very, very long time. So that's exciting. Who's meowing at me? You want to come say hi? Hi, buddy. What are you doing? Oh, what's going on? Got a garden kitty this morning. Oh, I hear a second garden kitty. What are you doing? Come here and see me. Hi. We got all the garden kitties this morning. Come on. So these two are brothers, and we named them Abercrombie and Fitch, which we never call them because, of course, we don't. So one of them, I believe this is Aber. Nope, that's Finch. So this is Finch. He's very talky. Good morning, buddy. What are you doing? Hi. And then this, peeking through the zucchini, that's Aber. And Aber is a very, very good hunter. And we have no mice. Oh, you're just going to walk through the garlic. Okay, let's do that then. We have no mice in our chicken coop because of these two cats. So they're fabulous farm helpers. Hi, buddy. Good morning. Wildcat. All right. So this is the sweet peas. This variety. Oh, I'll put the name on the screen. I can't remember it right now. Has done very well, and it is a shelling pea. So this pod is not edible, but the pea itself is edible, and just delightful and sweet and lovely. And then this variety is called Snow Dwarf Gray. You can see how many peas I have on here. And the problem with this is I thought this was a snow pea. And so I grew this thinking I was going to be able to eat the pod, and the description from the company that I bought it from says that you can eat the pod when they're small, and they are inedible in terms of the pod. It's very, very woody, not tasty at all. And the peas themselves even are not that sweet. So I've just been letting them fully mature. So I'll need to come back through here. I picked a whole bunch of them a couple of days ago, and I need to come back through and pick again. But I've been letting the seeds mature in here, and then I'm just shelling them and using them as shelled sweet peas. But this variety, not nearly as sweet as this variety. So I will not be planting these again. And the reason they're called dwarf is clearly not because of the vine, which is now well over 6 feet. It's because the pods themselves are short. And so they have a small little pod compared to, I mean, it's not a giant difference, but compared to this. So they're called dwarf because of that. But yeah, not a variety I would grow again. Really pretty little reddish purple flower, and very prolific. I mean, geez, this plant is very happy, but not something I would grow again. Down here along the edge, getting too much shade right now because of that zucchini and because of these peas. These are long beans, so Asian long beans. And I will be, once these peas get ripped out, and you can see that pea right there is drying out. So we are right at the end of pea season. I'll get one more big harvest off of this, and then these vines are going to be done. We're starting to get into the 90s on a regular basis, and they're not going to survive. Peas are a spring crop. So that'll all come out, and then these long beans will get trellised onto this trellis, and they should do just fine. Let's go through here. What are you doing? You gonna talk to me? All right. So to our back bed, this is sweet peas, and you can see if we compare, maybe I'll do an overlay in the corner. If we compare to June, we've gotten a lot of growth in here. These guys don't really do anything until it starts to get hot. And then once it starts to get hot, they really take off. I did throw a few extra basil in here. I had a lot of extra basil plants this year. And so I've just kind of tucked them in here and there all over the garden, both in the big garden and in this garden. And so we'll see if they get completely buried or not, or if they get tall enough to be able to survive the onslaught of the sweet peas. But the sweet peas are really starting to take off, and I'm very pleased to see that. I have 3 different varieties in here. Here are more poppies, and this one is called Snow and Ice, maybe? I can't remember for sure. I think there's one over here that's actually opened up. Yeah, let me show you. And the first one of these opened the other day, just as I was getting ready to leave town to go to the Modern Homesteading Conference. And I sent my husband a text message and said, we're not growing poppies, we're growing Muppets. These things are so frilly and really, really fun. And so, yeah, that's been a very fun variety. And clearly we're gonna have plenty of seed. So that'll be fun to continue to grow. In the rest of this bed, these are Cipollini onions that I've let go to seed. They were left over from the previous year. And I found them on the floor of my greenhouse where I had dried onions the previous year, and they had just fallen through the slats that I had them on. And so I'm just gonna let these bloom, and then I'll collect seed from them. They can cross-pollinate with each other. Onions are quite promiscuous, and so if you're gonna grow onions for seed, you need to make sure that you're only growing one variety close to each other because they will cross. But Cipollini onions, they do need some kind of stake. They tend to be very floppity, and what happens is the seed stalk gets broken off, which has actually already happened with one of these. So there were 2, and this one got broken. And then we have our beautiful Queen Lime zinnia back here that is starting to really come into her own. You know, we always get one big flower, and then they start to branch, and they're just gorgeous. So I'm very happy for that. In this bed is the remnants of the lettuce. And I'm trying to decide, I might leave a couple of these and let them go to seed just to have it. That red one back there is clearly getting ready to send up a seed stalk. But this is done for the season, and we just didn't get to all of it, which I knew was going to happen. But you can see everything in here is distorted and starting to elongate. And once this happens, I mean, it's still edible, but it gets quite bitter. And so it's not really what you want to eat at this point. So lettuce season is over, but in this bed I have these beautiful hollyhocks, which were actually planted in here last year and are finally blooming. Man, did they take their time. But this is a black hollyhock, really stunning. And so that's been great fun. And we have a rust that is just ubiquitous in our area for hollyhocks. And so I haven't bothered spraying these. It's on every hollyhock I've ever seen growing in our area, so I just don't worry about it too much. And then this one is a double. And I don't remember the variety. It was a mixed color, but all the ones that survived seem to be pink. But great fun. And then in this bed, starting to climb into the peas, which is going to be an interesting process, I have Japanese cucumbers, and so they're starting to really climb, and I need to get those peas out of there so that they can start climbing up this trellis. So a successful pea year, definitely probably the most successful pea year I've had since I've been here. I wish I didn't have a variety that wasn't all that great, but I'm happy to have a nice couple of pounds of peas in my freezer. This is okra. And I have 3 different varieties in here, and I didn't put tags out, and now I wish I had. And I put 2 seeds in each spot, and in most cases, both of them came up. So I need to thin this. Okra really likes heat, and it won't do a whole lot until it gets hot. But we are starting to get hot, and these are gonna start to shoot up. They need about a foot of room per plant, minimum. Sometimes stuff you'll read says 1.5 feet. I've never had them get that wide, but then we're not really the ideal climate for them. And then I planted a second time because I had some that didn't come up, and then I think they came up late. So I was aiming for 4, 4, and then 3. And I've got like a lot of extra in here, so I'm going to need to thin this out. But okra, a crop that's fairly new to me. I did not grow up eating okra. And you always hear about the sliminess of okra and people are whiny about it. And it turns out I actually really enjoy the taste of okra. And so I've grown it for the last couple of years, mostly unsuccessfully because I usually don't give it enough room and put it someplace that's getting too much shade. But I'm hoping that this year I'm going to have a nice successful crop. And then once this lettuce comes out, I'm going to put carrots in there. And I'll give you a really good hint with carrots, which is people always think of carrots as a cool season crop, and to some extent they are, but you can absolutely grow them during the summer and they will germinate much better when the temperature is warmer. And so I've actually just stopped trying to grow them as a spring crop, and I grow them as a summer crop and then let them go into the fall, and that works out just fine. And then lastly, we have our brassica bed, some of which is coming to an end. This poor chard, this is a mix of hail damage and then leaf miner. So this is leaf miner. So there are little larvae in these leaves. If I could get the lighting right, you might even be able to see them. So we've got a bad infestation of this because I didn't keep things covered. I need to get in here and thin some of this out. Oh, and this is interesting. Evidently it was cold enough that this has decided that it's just going to go to seed. Usually chard doesn't go to seed until it's had a winter. It's a biannual, but clearly we had enough cold that this is convinced that it's just ready. Either that or it's just really stressed, but that's sending up a seed stalk, which is interesting. I just noticed that now. The kale in here is stunning and doing beautifully, with the exception of a little bit of slug damage and a little bit of hail damage, but none of that really hurts anything. This is lacinato or black kale or dino kale. And then this is my favorite, which is the red Russian kale. Just gorgeous. And I need to get in here and do a big harvest and freeze some of this for my freezer for the winter. The rest of this bed, the cabbage that was in here has been harvested. I do have broccoli plants still in here. You can see where the broccoli was harvested, but clearly there's some rot happening in the center of that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get side shoots off of this or not. I should get some side harvest off of these broccoli plants. Wow, I really need to harvest this kale. But maybe not. I don't know. Things are looking a little funky in there. Usually I specifically grow varieties of broccoli that will give me a second harvest of side shoots. But maybe not this year. We'll see. And then the rest of this bed is sprouting broccoli that is at the end of its season. So I've done a ton of harvest out of here. And at this point, they're growing so fast and they're elongating so fast that I'm not catching them to harvest before they're too mature. And this is what they start to do. And then that will bloom. You can see we're just starting to open up. These are Brassica family, of course, which has a cross-shaped 4-petaled leaf, and the pollinators absolutely love them. And so if I don't need this room immediately, I might just let a couple of these flower just to feed some pollinators before I tear the plants out. But they are done for the season. And I think what I might put in here is some beets. And I've never tried to do beets in the summer. I know that's not typical, but it might be a good experiment to start them now and let them go into the fall. And then this bed, I will grow some more fall cauliflower, broccoli, and once the garlic comes out of here, that's what will go into this bed. So I've got plans for that as well. Oh, look how pretty this is with the sun hitting this lovely sweet pea flower. And then, of course, lots of other flowers all over the place. We're getting too much sun here. This is calendula, and this variety is called Flashback, and it is my favorite. And these were just volunteers. I had calendula in this planter last year, and these have just reseeded outside the planter. These are Signet marigolds and some Johnny jump-ups that are in here. I've taken ridiculous numbers of pictures of this combination because they're so pretty. And the Signet Marigolds and the Johnny Jump Ups are both edible. And then the green stalk, which is planted in strawberries. For the most part, there is one nasturtium in there. And this green stalk seems to be done. These are supposed to be ever-bearing strawberries, but I don't see any more fruit coming. So I've taken the fence down, and I'm just letting things grow and continuing to water and fertilize this. Not a great strawberry season out of this year, so kind of disappointing. I did get, a handful, but most of them were the size of my pinky and not great. So I'm not sure I'm going to keep doing strawberries in a green stalk because I just never seem to get that huge harvest that most people seem to get when they do this. So I'm not sure what's happening. I am fertilizing with some liquid fertilizer in the top quite a bit. And so I don't know what's going on, but that's a tricky one. I'm going to show you a couple of other things here. Oh, this is fun. This is a hibiscus. The lighting's terrible, I apologize. But this is a hibiscus that you would make tea from, that I grew from seed. And it is just starting to flower. So that's really fun. I have 2 of those. And then I have a couple of other ones called Luna, and only one of them is happy. This one is pretty happy. One of them has died and the other one is on its way out, so I'm not quite sure what's happening with all of that. But what I really wanted to show you guys was this. And so this is a perennial sweet pea. Fortunately, it does not have a scent, but absolutely gorgeous this time of year. And this is why we grow this, because it climbs and it just cascades in this area. We struggle to keep it under wraps because it spreads. But I mean, come on, this is so, so gorgeous. I might come out here and film this again or do an overlay on this in the evening when the lighting is better. But this is so, so pretty. We do have a couple of California poppies in here that are the multicolor California poppies, so that's really fun. This has been blooming, and I have a white and an orange in here. And then I have a few more over here. They're not open right now, that are multicolored as well. And so that's been lovely. And they don't require a lot of water. They're pretty drought tolerant. The nasturtiums that we tucked in underneath the almond tree are beautiful. They're happy with the heat. They're doing quite well. And those cheery little faces. And then this little patch of volunteer yarrow. We have yarrow all over the property. It started out as an ornamental, and it's just spread, and we mow it and just use it as a ground cover. But I love this pale lavender yarrow. It just makes me happy. All right, so that's what's happening in the raised bed garden. My asparagus look like Muppets as well. They're huge. And this is what you want to do with asparagus once you harvest it. You stop harvesting it when the spears get smaller than a pencil, and you let them get all bushed out, so they call this asparagus fern. And this is what feeds the plant for the following year. And so you want to let your asparagus do its thing. And asparagus plants come in male and female. If you look at this asparagus plant, and then you look at this asparagus plant, can you guess which one is male and which one is female? I'll give you a hint. Of males and females, which ones have the babies? So this, with all of the berries, this is a female asparagus plant. Some people will tell you to pull out the females and just grow the males because they believe you get a better yield. I don't really care. And I like having a seed source because if I want to start more asparagus, I can. And I've actually grown asparagus from seed. So yeah, fun. But you can see nary a seed on this one. So male and female asparagus. We'll go over and see if our poppy is blooming over here while we're talking. Oh, I was going to show you guys this. This is clary sage. And so this is the clary sage that is the essential oil. You grow it from seed. It's a salvia, and it is a biannual, which means it stays very close to the ground and doesn't really do a whole lot the first year. And then that second year, it sends up huge flower stalks and smells amazing. and then it dies. And this one is a volunteer. I had clary sage in here several years ago. And I'm kind of amazed that I only have one volunteer in here because this drops so much seed. This is our dianthus that I grew from seed that's finally blooming. This is the one that is the most happy. Very, very pretty. And here are our Muppet poppies. So they call them fire and ice because you can see there is some white down in there. But I just call them Muppet poppies because, come on. But yeah, we've had 3 or 4 of them bloom in here, and that's been great fun. And then lastly, this is behind my greenhouse, and this is the sunflowers that I planted back here. There's 3 different varieties, and they have just started opening up. The ones closest to me are supposed to be the tallest and the largest. I'm not sure if that's going to bear out, but these chocolate cherries, I am so here for it. These are just gorgeous. And so this has been really fun that these have started to open up and do their thing. And we will see more sunflowers in the big garden in the second half of this tour that I will post in the next couple of days. Thanks for watching, tribe. If you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment and share. I have new content coming out every week.